Happy Saturday to everybody. Hope that you're passing the time well, watching some college football, hanging out outside before the 49ers and the Chiefs. I have your big pre-Chiefs 49ers roster update. Today, the 49ers were not nearly as busy as they were last Saturday before the Falcons game. They only made one move, and that is activating Dontae Johnson from the practice squad. Now, Dontae is still on the practice squad, but one of his three activations, the second of his three activations, has been used. So he'll be on the 55-man roster tomorrow, available to play. He will play for the 49ers against the Chiefs. Now, what does that mean for Charvarius Ward and Talanoa Hufanga? That means they're still questionable. The 49ers will make game time decisions on these guys. Hufanga, at some point today, does have to pass through the third step of the concussion protocol, but he also has to feel good tomorrow morning. And if he feels good tomorrow morning, so far everything is going along that good track, well, then he will play against the Chiefs. Charvarius Ward is a groin situation. Keep in mind that this is a similar injury to what Nick Bosa had last week. Bosa practiced last Friday, but didn't play in the game against Atlanta. Charvarius Ward did practice on Friday, but we don't know what his status will be for this game against the Chiefs. If I had to guess, the likelihood of Charvarius Ward playing is much higher than the likelihood of Nick Bosa playing last week. Charvarius has been talking a lot about the chance to face his former team. He played 3 years for Kansas City against Patrick Mahomes in training camp, and he looked good out at practice on Friday. It looked like he was moving well. So I would expect Ward actually to play tomorrow. I'm leaning more toward that, but I'm not 100% sure. Either way, I would not look at this as Dontae Johnson being elevated for the game as evidence that Ward is somehow unlikely to play. The 49ers need depth, versatile depth, just in case both of their questionable guys or one of their two questionable guys, Charvarius Ward or Talanoa Hufanga, is unable to go against the Chiefs. So one of the players that you bring up is Dontae Johnson. Now, Dontae Johnson and Jimmie Ward are the only two 49ers left from when Jim Harbaugh was the head coach in 2014. So that's some fun stuff, right? The 49ers somehow, some way, these two guys have lasted enough time. They're 9-year NFL vets. That's the length of time that you need to have been in the league if you wanted to survive until Jim Harbaugh's return to the 49ers, because Harbaugh has already been the coach of Michigan for 8 seasons. That's hard to believe. But Harbaugh is going to be back there tomorrow. It's going to be a remarkable convergence of events. And that's why I encourage everybody to just appreciate what's going to be happening in this game on Sunday, before, during, and after. Jim Harbaugh back at Levi Stadium had the nasty divorce with Jed York and the 49ers in 2014. Well, time heals all wounds, because the 49ers are now honoring the 2012 team that went to the Super Bowl, lost a heartbreaker against the Ravens. Fun fact, I guess, about that game is that it was the night that George Kittle took his now wife, Claire, out on their first date. They went to a sushi restaurant in Iowa City at her request and watched the Super Bowl and the power outage and all that. George was a freshman in college at the time, and Jim Harbaugh was leading the 49ers at their peak, right, of those years, 2011 to 2013, to the Super Bowl, where they're favored against the Ravens and they lost. Anyway, the 49ers are going to be honoring that 2012 team, which made it that distance. They had 9 All-Pros. They had Harbaugh, brought everybody a lot of good memories. So just appreciate the convergences Sunday, because you're going to get to see Jim Harbaugh and Kyle Shanahan in the same spot. I don't think that that was anything that people expected here over the past several years, given the status of the relationship and the departure of Jim Harbaugh from the 49ers. You're going to be able to see a Super Bowl 54 rematch between the 49ers and the Chiefs as this happens. You're going to get to see Christian McCaffrey's homecoming. And by the way, as we talk about Christian McCaffrey's homecoming, here's my article yesterday. Christian McCaffrey's crash course on the 49ers playbook is underway. That's the headline. And then, I just made a title right now. Christian McCaffrey is studying hard as we speak. He's learning the terminology in hopes of being able to play tomorrow against the Chiefs. That's just one of the many convergences. Jim Harbaugh's homecoming, obviously a big one. Harbaugh, the coach of Stanford, but not while Christian McCaffrey was there. McCaffrey's homecoming actually happens on the weekend that Stanford plays their homecoming game, which is, I think, really fortuitous timing, right? John Lynch knows Christian's parents from college. John Lynch played quarterback at Stanford, threw touchdown passes to Ed McCaffrey. Lisa McCaffrey, Ed's wife, was a soccer player at Stanford. And John Lynch yesterday, in this article that I wrote right here, you can go ahead and check it out. I'm going to put it into the chat section. John Lynch said that he still remembers frat parties at Stanford for when Ed and Lisa, the future McCaffreys, were just starting dating. Christian McCaffrey wasn't born until 1996. So we're talking early 90s here at Stanford. And then Ed McCaffrey played for the 49ers in 1994 against John Lynch and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, mind you, in 1994. 49ers killed them at Candlestick in that game, but Ed McCaffrey scored a touchdown for the 49ers. And you moved all the way forward to the Denver days, right? Ed McCaffrey left with Mike Shanahan, former 49ers offensive coordinator, to Denver. Ed played for Mike, won 2 more Super Bowls with the Broncos. John Lynch ultimately came around, joined the Broncos in the 2000s, but it was the Stanford relationship that John Lynch formed with the McCaffreys. And then the Shanahans, I guess they formed their relationship with the McCaffreys in San Francisco in 1994, but most of that relationship was built in the late 90s in Denver. That's where Christian McCaffrey was born. He may or may not have been babysat by Kyle Shanahan. It was probably Kyle's sister. But all those convergences are really neat, and that's why I posted that article into the comments section. There's more stuff that's going on tomorrow. Christian McCaffrey's homecoming, Jim Harbaugh's homecoming. Now, Harbaugh was the coach of Stanford before McCaffrey was there. So I know Stanford is tied to all of this, all this crazy stars aligning kind of stuff. But Harbaugh was the coach at Stanford when Richard Sherman was there. So we're talking 07 to 2010 for Jim Harbaugh. Took him from 1-11 to the Orange Bowl, and I think the best team in the country in 2010. I think Stanford lost that early game to Oregon, but they really came into their rhythm by the end of the season. They killed Virginia Tech in the Orange Bowl. I think they were a playoff in 2010. I think that Harbaugh's final Stanford team would have won a national title, and the reason I think that is because they had Andrew Luck. They had Richard Sherman coming into his own as a cornerback, fresh off of a conversion on the defensive side of the ball. They had all kinds of NFL talent at tight end between Zach Ertz and Kobe Fleener. Oh my God, these guys were loaded. Conrad Ruland, R.I.P. to him. He passed away a few years ago. That's a heartwarming story. Rod Carew, former Angels baseball player, needed a heart transplant. And when Conrad Ruland unexpectedly died, that was the former Stanford tight end, went on to play for the Jets in the NFL, played for Harbaugh on that 2010 team. When Ruland unexpectedly died, he was a heart donor, and Ruland's heart is now in Rod Carew, the baseball player, and allowed him to extend his life. So it's one of those, whoa, this is the 21st century, the technology and whatever to make it possible. But the fact that something good was able to be made out of the tragic passing of Conrad Ruland, to me, was one of the wow stories of a couple years ago when that happened. But that Stanford team in 2010, of which Ruland was a part, David DeCastro along the offensive line, they had Shane Scove, who would go on to play for the 49ers before his ACL tear while he was still looking like a first-round draft prospect. Trent Murphy, he had a long NFL career for Trent Murphy, playing on the defensive in the defensive backfield. They had Michael Thomas, who still is in the NFL, a defensive back. That was a loaded Stanford team. And then Harbaugh left to the 49ers in 2011 to start what will become the reunion, right? The 2012 team reunion. But the 2011 49ers are the ones that kicked that off. More convergences tomorrow. It's going to be National Tight Ends Day. And it just so happens that on this National Tight Ends Day, you're going to have George Kittle, Travis Kelce, and Greg Olsen, who's calling this game for Fox as part of their number one crew, in the building at the same time. And it's Kittle, Kelce, and Olsen, who are the co-founders of Tight End U. Now, National Tight End Day started in 2018, or the idea came to be in 2018, thanks to Jimmy Garoppolo. The 49ers were playing the Lions in week 2. And Garrett Selleck, remember Selleck time? You can tap right here, Selleck time. Selleck time scored a touchdown. And the 49ers tight ends were just having a hell of a game against the Lions that day. And Jimmy Garoppolo went to the sideline, saw the tight ends on the bench, and joked, "What is it, National Tight Ends Day?" And at that moment, an idea was born. And George Kittle said, "Oh my God, I've got to run with it." And George Kittle has turned into the ringleader, right, for this tight end position. Tight end U, it's co-founded by him, Kelsey, and Greg Olson, but it's in Nashville. That's where George Kittle is based in the off seasons. It's where I'm based in the off seasons, and it's turned into this entity that has outgrown itself, right? They had to move to Vanderbilt this year. We don't see anything of this size for any other position group in the NFL. I know there's some pass rusher summits with Von Miller, but tight end U was awesome. I think they had close to 100 guys out there, maybe 80 or 90 when I was out on the field in Vanderbilt this year. So anyway, National Tight Ends Day is the fourth Sunday of every October, and it's going to be happening tomorrow. 49ers, Chiefs, Kelsey, Kittle, and Greg Olson up in the booth. And then, on top of all the convergences, you've got an elite NFL matchup. 49ers, Chiefs is going to be awesome. Here's my preview of the game. How much will Christian McCaffrey play in his 49ers debut against the Chiefs is the headline, but there's a whole lot more here. You've got a whole 10 observations and then our predictions. And I just released my prediction in another video, so be sure to check that out. But if you look at Kansas City, blue is good, red is bad, elite offense, shady defense, leaves the 49ers with an opening. I think the 49ers are the more balanced team. I think they have a chance to really round out offensively, especially against the bad Chiefs defense. Either way, it's an elite NFL matchup because it's a rematch of Super Bowl 54. Now, the Chiefs have changed. I think their offensive line is better than back in the Super Bowl. I think their defense is worse, but they still have Patrick Mahomes and they still have Travis Kelce. And it's impossible to ask somebody to cover Travis Kelce for more than 3 or 4 seconds because he's elite at finding open space downfield. So we're going to see that 49ers pass rush against a good Chiefs offensive line put to the test, right? The pass rush is going to be put to the test. You can't let Mahomes escape out of the pocket too many times because guys like Kelce, no matter who you have in the defensive backfield, are too hard to cover. But that brings us back to the update at the start of this show. Dontae Johnson has been activated from the practice squad just for this one game, second activation of the season. We don't know about the statuses of Charvarius Ward and Talanoa Hufanga just yet, but this Dontae Johnson elevation gives the 49ers some breathing room, some leeway in case these two guys who are questionable are not able to play in this game. And I'm going to be out there early tomorrow. Be sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, because I'm going to be doing the stadium tour. You're going to get footage of Christian McCaffrey in a 49ers uniform here first. You're going to get footage of Jim Harbaugh here first. I mean, Jim Harbaugh showing up at the 49ers stadium at Levi Stadium for the first time since they fired him in 2014. The Chiefs are going to be there. Personality, Kelsey, Kittle. It's going to be such an awesome day. I'm fired up. But, Charvarius Ward and Talanoa Hufanga, that's another thing I'm going to try to report as soon as possible for you tomorrow because they're questionable entering tomorrow. Dontae Johnson's obviously been activated, but we don't know what the status of the 49ers secondary against Mahomes precisely is going to be. Another question I have for the game tomorrow is, where will Jimmie Ward play? We know he will play. I talked to Jimmie at his locker yesterday. On Wednesday, he had a massive, heavy club on his broken hand. He decided that was too much. He didn't need that much. So on Thursday and Friday at practice, Jimmie Ward shifted to a smaller cast that protects the two end fingers where I guess the injury is, but gives some air to his hand as well, which helps with some of the sensations. And he says he's going to play with that one. And he told me he has to be out there to help the team in any way possible. My question is, does Jimmie Ward play nickel for the 49ers? Obviously, Emmanuel Moseley no longer an option with the torn ACL. Jason Verrett's not going to be back yet this week. Maybe Charvarius Ward, maybe not. But either way, you're digging into a little bit of depth, right, in the defensive backfield for the 49ers. Assume that Talanoa Hufanga clears the protocol and assume that Tashaun Gibson still starts at safety. Where do you play Jimmie Ward? Maybe he gets some slot action because he did get some slot action in his one play against the Carolina Panthers. And then once again, Christian McCaffrey is studying as hard as he can as we speak. So that will answer this. How much will Christian McCaffrey play in his 49ers debut? I do think that Christian plays in the red zone in this game. I really think that he learns the system well enough to play in the red zone because those are the highest leverage snaps. So he learns the terminology to the extent that he's able to contribute at the high leverage snaps. And ultimately it's going to come down to the 49ers holding the Chiefs to 3 when they're on defense, like the 49ers defense against the Chiefs offense to 3 as many times as possible in the red zone. And then doing the opposite. The 49ers must do the opposite when they're in the red zone. They want to put up 7 instead of 3. These two teams, I think, are relatively evenly matched. Their profiles are different. The Chiefs are imbalanced, excellent offense, terrible defense. The 49ers have an excellent defense, and the offense is, it's going to be better than terrible. We know they have the pieces to be better. We know that their efficiency in between the 20s, moving the ball downfield, has actually not been terrible. But, of course, the scoring problems in this last game against the Falcons are holding them back. Once the 49ers get their offensive issues ironed out, I think you're going to have a good offense and an excellent defense, and you have an absolute contender in the 49ers. But this game against the Chiefs is the 49ers' chance to make a true statement, to gain some mojo, to gain some swag, to move forward into a difficult stretch of the season where you have the Chiefs followed by the Rams, followed by the Chargers, right? This is it. This is where you're in the meat of the schedule, where you're playing tough quarterbacks and tough teams, and you have to prove that you are title caliber material. The 49ers just sitting right there at 3-3, along with a host of other NFL teams, but they do have a chance to start making their move. And they did make a big off-field move when they acquired Christian McCaffrey just a couple days ago. So now they have to translate that into on-field success. I talked about, will the 49ers beat the Chiefs? I know I already made my prediction, so you can go ahead and check that out in another video. I did this in a separate video, but I might as well add it on now. I had 5 keys for the 49ers. Be a good Chiefs offensive line, right? You got Orlando Brown Jr. at left tackle. You have Joe Thuney at left guard. You have Creed Humphrey at center. That left side from center to left tackle of the Chiefs offensive line is really, really impressive. They are totally different than they were in the Super Bowl 3 seasons ago. All 5 starters are new. In the Super Bowl, the 49ers racked up 31 pressures. Bosa had 14 pressures. He even got held on the key play of the game. So I don't know if that was counted as a pressure, but it was dominant, right? The 49ers, it didn't break in their favor at the end of the game, but they overpowered the Chiefs offensive line for the vast majority of those 60 minutes. Well, the Chiefs, they got worked by the Buccaneers in the Super Bowl the next year by their defensive line as well. So the Chiefs have revamped their offensive line since those Super Bowl failures by their offensive line. And they've got some good players. They have some good pass protection up there. It's going to be a challenge for the 49ers pass rush, and it's a good thing that Bosa's good to go. Ebukam's good to go. Charles Omenihu was never hurt. It's a good thing all those guys are set to go because they're going to have to go to war against this Chiefs offensive line, and that's key number 1 for the 49ers. Key 2, because the Chiefs probably are going to be able to hold the 49ers a little bit at bay, and because Patrick Mahomes, even when the pass rush wins, is able to elude and escape, and he's Patrick Mahomes, it might take some smoke and mirrors with the 49ers health situation versus Patrick Mahomes. We don't know if Charvarius Ward's going to play or if Talanoa Hufanga is going to play. And Emmanuel Mosley's already down, right? And Jason Verrett's not ready to go yet. So this 49ers secondary, especially the corner position, Jimmie Ward, I should add to that, the DB position, but especially the corner position. But with Jimmie Ward playing with the cast, it all adds to the point that this secondary is a little bit beaten up, at least a little bit beaten up. We'll find out the total extent of the damage for this game against Kansas City during pregame warmups tomorrow. But the point is that the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes, they might have some windows. They might have some opening here. It might not be a mono advantage for the 49ers on the defensive side against Kansas City's offense, especially if the Chiefs do a good job blocking them. And if that's the case, some smoke and mirrors are going to be necessary. What are smoke and mirrors? Well, it could be a well-timed DeMeco Ryans blitz. It could be mixing man and zone coverage to confuse Patrick Mahomes a little bit. Or it could be something as simple as bending but not breaking, tightening your belt in the red zone so the Chiefs pick up only 3 points instead of 7 on some key opportunities. Now, I always say that the best defense in these situations is a good offense. And that brings us to key number 3. Expose the Chiefs' imbalance. The Chiefs, again, if you want to see what the Chiefs' imbalance is all about, it's right here. Blue is good, red is bad. They have a lot of imbalance. They have dark blue, which means really good offense, dark red, which means really bad defense. So when I say that the best defense is a good offense, well, that means that the 49ers have to get out there, control the clock, and then also control the scoreboard with their offense. Can't put up 0 points in the second half anymore. as was the case in Atlanta. I get it. It was not Jimmy Garoppolo's fault. It was the fault of drops. It was the fault of the holding penalty on Brendel. I don't think that Kyle Shanahan called an aggressive enough game late, but the 49ers do show to be making progress on the offensive end, especially in the cohesion, the cohesive effort between Kyle Shanahan and Jimmy Garoppolo. They are pushing the ball downfield more. Garoppolo's got the arm talent to make all the throws. It seems that Shanahan is letting him unleash on some of those. He's got to let him do it more, and especially if the 49ers fall behind, he has to say, hey, the running game right now is not what I need to establish. I need to pass to set up the run. And I think the 49ers are clearly a pass to set up the run team. Their quarterback is one of the strong suits of the offense. The quarterback and the receivers, right, there's been separation. There have been good throws. There's been efficiency there this year. The 49ers are ranked number 7 in pass DVOA. That includes the Trey Lance game where they weren't hardly able to throw in week 1 in the monsoon, but they're ranked number 26 in rushing DVOA. So the 49ers need to bring that rushing efficiency up to the pass efficiency, or at least closer to it, middle of the pack. That's a lot of the strategy behind picking up Christian McCaffrey, right? And I think they do that by passing to set up the run, by loosening the box. This blocking Chris Jones is really important, obviously. He's the top pass rush win rate defensive tackle in all football. So in consecutive weeks, 3 back-to-back-to-back, the 49ers will have faced Aaron Donald, Grady Jarrett, and then Chris Jones. They handled Donald well. They handled Grady Jarrett, especially in the pass game, well. Now they have to handle the top guy this year, Chris Jones, who they didn't handle very well in the Super Bowl. So that's going to be a major, major key for the 49ers. Good thing that Aaron Banks hasn't given up a sack yet this year. The pass pro, I think, has been decent from Brendel and Burford. So the law firm up there in front's going to have to do a good job. But it's not just Chris Jones. It's going to be about Frank Clark coming off the edge, Carlos Dunlap coming off the edge, George Karlaftis, the rookie, number 30 overall pick. He's going to be coming off the edge. The tackles in this game who are coming off of injuries, right? Mike McGlinchey with the calf contusion at right tackle, Trent Williams coming off the high ankle sprain at left tackle. Those are the players who are going to have to hold those edge rushers at bay. And that line for the 49ers has to work cohesively to stop all of the pressure that can derail the 49ers in this game. Finally, ride those Christian McCaffrey vibes if you're the 49ers. The vibes have been really positive this week. Everybody's excited about it. I mean, I walked in the locker room yesterday and Spencer Burford is bouncing around. He's so happy. And he's like, oh my God, man. They got to put out this roster update on Madden because I need to play with McCaffrey on my team, because Burford plays with the 49ers because he's on the 49ers. He's not a sellout. So he plays with the 49ers, but he needed the Madden roster update. He's like, it's going to be out within 24 hours. So Burford right now probably playing some Madden, resting up for the game, playing with Christian McCaffrey if that roster update's out in time. I say that because the 49ers locker room was excited. McCaffrey was in there yesterday. So was I. I mean, I got to see Christian McCaffrey for the first time since this. Those of you who are just joining the show, you're going to be amazed at how young we both look. Actually, I saw Christian McCaffrey at the NFL awards, but only very passingly in the time since this photo. Boom. There you go. There's David Lombardi and Christian McCaffrey circa 2016. Anyway, yesterday, everybody's catching up. Everybody's excited to be in that locker room. And Christian McCaffrey and I were like, damn, full circle. This is, it comes from Stanford, Bay Area, back to the Bay Area with the 49ers. Christian McCaffrey's best game at Stanford statistically came at Levi's Stadium. 461 all-purpose yards against USC in the Pac-12 championship game in December of 2015. And guess what? The 49ers Stanford used the 49ers locker room on that day when Christian McCaffrey had 461 yards. So McCaffrey now has a permanent stall in the 49ers locker room, not just using it for a game. And he was back in there. Everybody was excited. And I think the 49ers really want to ride those Christian McCaffrey vibes. All right, I made this longer than a normal update, so I think I deserve a sub and a like. That would be great. Thanks. Dontae Johnson activated from the practice squad for this game. That was the news, and then we just went to a whole bunch of analysis. So appreciate all the convergences on Sunday, everybody. It's going to be a really good time. 49ers and the Chiefs. Maybe I stay on for a couple more minutes, look at a couple questions. Just let me have some water, okay? And we'll go to there. Let's field a couple questions. Maybe push this to 30 minutes. Maybe get this to 500 viewers. I don't know. Those are all fun things to do. Happy birthday to 6301. Today is my birthday, and my wish is that the 49ers win tomorrow. Happy birthday. Everybody wish a happy birthday. I swam in the bay today, so I'm hydrating because I can't drink the water in the bay because it's brine. Why would you want to move on from Dontae Johnson? He does a good job for the 49ers. He was a hero last year. I don't get the hate for Dontae Johnson. Doesn't make any sense for me. Played awesome. They shut down Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers with Dontae Johnson starting in that game. No, Jason Verrett cannot go to injured reserve. He's on the PUP list. He's coming back from the PUP list. I don't think he's going to IR unless he gets hurt again. He's not. He's on the track to come back. He's physically unable to perform. He's on track to come back. They need to activate him by Wednesday, and I think that will happen before Wednesday. Yes, Trent Williams is indeed playing. Thank you. What packages do the 49ers run to utilize Christian McCaffrey? They run their offense. Their offense is based on positionless skill positions, right? He could line up in the backfield. He could split out in the slot. I mean, I can't wait to see the Harvard-Stanford backfield. See some double back formations there with Kyle Juszczyk lead blocking for Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey is the ideal fit for a running back into the 49ers offense, and they picked him up. So they don't have to change anything for this offense. Charvarius Ward does not need to be activated. Charvarius Ward is already on the active 53-man roster. He's not on injured reserve. We will not know if he's going to play or not until tomorrow when the 49ers release their inactive list. If he's not on it, then Charvarius Ward will play. Yes, Bosa is playing. Score predictions in the other video. Go ahead and check that out. I did one from Alamo Square. You get the Paint It Ladies, the Full House scene. It's up on the channel. Like the video, sub to the channel. You got the score prediction out there. Yes, the Ambry Thomas and Jim Harbaugh reunion tomorrow. So is the Jimmie Ward and Jim Harbaugh reunion. Dontae Johnson and Jim Harbaugh. Maurice Hurst, I haven't seen him around the facility. He's on the 49ers, but he's out for the season with the biceps tear. He also played for Harbaugh in Michigan. Is anybody betting that Christian McCaffrey will score in this game? They did not need to get rid of anybody to bring in Christian McCaffrey. They were at 52, and now they're at 53. They did force feed Sanders in that first game, so maybe they force feed Christian McCaffrey to allow him to score as well. All right, we got 2 minutes. Get your good questions in. We're going to end this show at exactly 30. Think that Christian McCaffrey will score. John Wardle asked, do you think we'll see more motions tomorrow to keep the Chiefs off balance because no one really knows what's going to happen? I think the 49ers run one of the highest rates of motion every week in the NFL. I don't know if we're going to see more or less. In fact, if Christian McCaffrey's in and he's still a little bit new at the wording, maybe they run fewer motions tomorrow. So I don't think that changes in any upward way tomorrow. All right. You want to see Christian McCaffrey flying over the top of the goal line? That'd probably mean that the 49ers are going to score a touchdown. Are the 49ers the most dangerous team in the NFC? Well, the Eagles are 6-0 right now, so I would say that they're really dangerous. I think the 49ers are plenty dangerous. I mean, anybody who's balanced is going to be dangerous, right? If you have a good offense and a good defense, which I think the 49ers have a chance to have a great defense, and maybe they could have a great offense too. I think the floor, once this offense really gets clicking, should be good for the offense. So they're going to be balanced, and that makes them dangerous. In a league of parity, that will make you dangerous. How excited am I that the 49ers have both tackles? Well, I'm a fan of health in football, so I'm excited about that. But yeah, it's going to be Trent Williams and Mike McGlinchey at tackle. If Brunskill plays, then the plan is to play him a little bit at right guard to mix him into that position. But I think that the 49ers are going to have Brunskill's their sixth man in this game ready to plug in anywhere. Tackle, guard, center. He is that Swiss Army knife. So they finally have that whole plan realized. I do think that a win would springboard the 49ers. I think that the win would add some swag to this season. You beat the Kansas City Chiefs, the team that beat you in the Super Bowl, got some revenge. They'd be talking about you nationally, and Christian McCaffrey would be ready for a full-time role against the Rams the next week. So anyway, thank you, everybody. Appreciate the convergences on Sunday. It was a fun 30-minute show. Like the video, sub to the channel, and of course, subscribe to The Athletic. We've got this up here. I'm going to put the links to the articles into the comment section. So here you go. Sub to The Athletic. Check it out. We have thousands and thousands of words about this huge game and all the convergences tomorrow. Going to be a lot of fun. Thanks for joining. Take care.